Yeah, let's hear you, bad cop. Uh-huh.
Here's the thing about mods, all right? It's 21st century. We got high-speed internet. A lot of us have fiber. Okay, the whole reason why we got that is because we want things to move fast. Last thing I want to do is be joining a server and have to sit there and load mods for 20 minutes. I downloaded more mods than the size of the game itself. It's ridiculous. I don't even know what to do. One of the things that I love about mods is immersion. That's my big take. I don't need robots. I don't need anime girls. I don't even need an excess of military vehicles that may or may not make sense to you. For me, it's immersion. I want to feel like somebody who's been lost in the world. And one of my mods that I really love is Nature Overhaul. Very much like Last of Us or even pictures of Chernobyl, if you go look at the actual site, it basically makes it to where nature is reclaiming the ruins of mankind, which I think is a powerful, powerful tool. You could see on the screen before you, and for those who aren't around, it's just a typical DayZ map. Very beautifully designed town. It's got the actual shrubbery that makes sense. But then, with Nature Overhaul, a simple mod to install, you get a much different experience. It looks like people have not been here to mow the lawns, to tend to the weeds, and it just causes it to expand and grow. And I love that because I love the show like 10 years after Human and just seeing what happens as Mother Nature reclaims what was once rightfully hers.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about what it means to be a modder in DayZ. Now, I'm going to actually ask you first, Yara. What do you think it takes to be a modder in DayZ?
Well, I've always had the utmost respect for modders. They are the unsung heroes of any game. They can bring life to a game that otherwise feels repetitive in nature. But to tell you the truth, when it comes to DayZ modding, I'm actually the least familiar on what it means to be a DayZ mod. I don't mod myself. I do have coding experience, but there's a lot of steps to it. It's not as, you can't just use assets willy-nilly. A lot of the times you have to make the assets yourself, especially with copyright issues. So I can't even imagine the stress that modders go through when they have to deal with Steam Workshop or gathering assets, or even trying to keep them up to date.
Now, you did point out that you may not be very familiar with what it means to be a DayZ modder, but you did say you have some coding slash experience in the background of game design in the past as well as just now. Now, what do you think it means to be a modder for pick a game at random? Fallout or Red Dead Redemption 2? I know you play that. What do you think about those kind of games?
Well, the thing I find interesting about Fallout is a lot of the modding community with Bethesda, and the reason why it's so strong, it all started back in the days of Morrowind with the TES, the Elder Scrolls editor. It gives you a chance. At first, it was just using their assets to make maps. Then people thought it was really cool, changing homes, changing the way the villages look. But then it kind of spiraled out of there. People thought, well, what would make this game good? What is missing in this title? What's different from the previous titles? And then once Oblivion came out, it was like the floodgates opened. You started seeing some phenomenal mods. Some of them silly, like using a crystal that heals you all the way, but it has a curse that they don't tell you about, where 100 adoring fans spawn behind you. And you just hear, Bizor, everywhere you go. But I really love how silly some of these mods can get without breaking the immersion of the title. And there's a lot of companies that give you that framework so that you can start modding. But I hear DayZ is not really that easy compared to some of these other ones.
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say DayZ is. I would almost say the reason why DayZ is harder is but the fact that it's almost hard or difficult to learn how to mod without relying upon the community itself to be there to hold you through the process. But the reason why I'm able to say this, folks, is that DayZ has its own engine, whether it's the virtual reality, the reality virtual engine, or it's the new Infusion engine. Both of these engines are in-house. Now, I know that Bethesda has its own in-house, but the situation there is that they have gone through the efforts, the time, and the energy to create huge guides out of their own company to make it so modding's easier for people. Now, DayZ, however, folks, has not done that very well. And when you get DayZ, our current version of DayZ, when they introduce modding, we have a mosh podge of the old virtual reality engine and Infusion clashed into one. This threw a huge wrench into things because we had new Infusion systems working with old systems, and figuring out how those both work together without proper documentation has been some of the hardest things to do. So we rely upon the community for help.
I thought I would pipe in since I do have a little bit of experience in this area. Um, so to kind of rewind a little bit and what it takes to get in to Daisy modding, especially if you want to do something a little bit more complex. The first thing is it helps if you have experience in object-oriented programming, C Sharp, C++. If you don't, I know Dump is self-taught, didn't have coding experience before he went in, but that certainly helps because it gives you some context to be able to look at the scripts and the configs and understand generally what they're doing rather than looking at it and it's like you're looking at the matrix. So that's the first thing. Not a requirement, but it definitely helps level out the climb a bit. And then I think, Dump, you mentioned it too, there really isn't a great set of documentation. So there are a number of tutorials. There's some really good tutorials out on YouTube, but they are the basics. They are retexturing items. Here's how to make a hat. Here's how to make a new bag. I know Tweaks has done some on making weapons and integrating with the weapon systems, and that can start to get a little bit complicated. But once you want to get past that, you're really on your own. I mean, there's some searching of the modders Discord that you can do if you really get your Google foo going in Discord search. But you're going to be having to figure out stuff. And in some cases that I ran into where I'm looking for something and everyone else was like, yeah, I don't think that can be done. Or it's not, we haven't figured it out. And where I've either figured it out or put a few pieces together of what people have done and then someone came in and helped me.
And I will be honest in saying that there has been, unfortunately, people are discovering over time their own ways of doing stuff, which has created a situation where people somewhat gatekeep because they worked really hard to learn how to do what they're doing, and it creates a situation which it makes them feel like sharing that information is being easy on someone or not necessarily giving them the possibility of learning themselves. I'm one of those people. Now, I am more than happy to share information with people, but if you come to me for some simple issues that can be found almost anywhere in the modders Discord now for Infusion, I am not jumping at the opportunity to just tell you how to fix it. I try to tell you where I see the problem and let you come up with a solution. Obviously, I eventually help, but I myself could be accused of gatekeeping in some situations where I never answer the person back or maybe just don't tell them.
And then to kind of tie it off in what you were talking about, Dump, with people being gatekeepers or not wanting to, it's like I paid my dues, you got to pay yours too. I think we could all be accused of that to some degree, but I know for me, it's less about wanting people to pay their dues, such as it is, and not be able to jump up really quick. But it's more if people don't have the context, if they don't understand the why behind it, and they just want a thing, they're never going to learn, and they're not going to be able to fish on their own, so to speak. So that's the thing, right, that there are lots of people I've helped out and kind of walked through stuff with them and explained things. Certainly the people that I want a thing and I want it now, they're just going to get silence and crickets. So I think it's the way I explained it to somebody once is if you come to me the right way, I'll help you out until, the cows come home. But if you're just being kind of a goofus and not wanting to put in the work of understanding it, yeah, no thanks.
Thank you for coming by, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to check out Jarl of Goats on Twitch when he is live, and Red Falcon and his amazing work in the DayZ community. Without these two, the show would not be the same. I hope you all have a wonderful day.